in 2011, I was, had just received my white coat, and that was a picture of me with the dean. But let me take a step back and tell you a bit about myself. So I'm Hans Boate, originally from Ghana. When I, came to the US, my mom told me, Hans, knowing how you are, knowing how much you care about people, I think becoming a doctor is the best path for you. I, looked at my mom and I was like, okay, you don't worry, mom, I'll look into it. So I began doing some research into, different professions, right? And I was looking at, I received a message that says there's an echo. Do you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, I think we solved that
While
problem.
waiting for a
You can
confirmation,
go
I'll
on.
just go ahead with my story. So my mom wanted me to be a doctor. Now, I went to look at, okay, what are the requirements with regards, attaining this degree? Obviously, with becoming a medical doctor, you need what's called an MCAT, right? So I looked at the MCAT exams, and when I saw that physics was on there, I was like, I don't think that route is for me. So let me try and find a different route by which I can get the title doctor so that my mom is, will be happy. But then I don't have to deal with the MCAT exam. And for me, pharmacy was that path. And the thing that drew me to pharmacy was just seeing the kind of relationship that a pharmacist is able to build with his or her patient. And that was what drew me to the profession, like just seeing how, this individual, this professional knew patients, not only by name, but, could establish a really, really deep relationship with them and help them in the process. So that was what, drew me to pharmacy. So, pursued pharmacy. When I got into pharmacy school, a friend of mine gave me this book. The book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't read this book before, kindly take a moment to just write down this name, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And the book was written by Robert Kiyosaki. And I don't want to spell the name right now, but then we'll send out that information to you, or if you weren't able to catch that. But that book introduced me to the concept that most people think you have to go to school, then you graduate, you work hard, and you become rich. That is pretty much the assumption. You go to school, graduate, if you become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, you become rich. And that's the exact same story that, my parents had come to believe, right? That's why they wanted me to become a doctor. And that's why most immigrant parents want us to try and attain these higher degrees. And the book taught me one lesson which really, really opened my eyes, or if I should say, opened me up to a new reality. And that reality was that the rich don't work for money. I was like, wait, the rich don't work for money? If the rich don't work for money, what do they work for? I began to ask myself, really? I thought that if you get that job that pays you a lot of money, you become rich and wealthy. But clearly this book is saying no, that's not the way to attaining wealth. I'll give you the secret to attaining wealth. It took me, I would say, about 10 years, reading over 300 books, reading over 40,000 articles to be able to identify this secret. So the rich don't work for money. Instead, the rich work for assets that pay them or put money in their pocket, right? So, for example, a stock is an asset. So if an individual has a stock or if an individual has an investment, it is not their time that's required for that investment to grow. You get that? If an individual buys a property and they are renting it out, it doesn't require their time to put money in their pocket. So the more that you can identify assets that can pay you or increase in value without your time, that is how you build wealth. And friends, in that process, my journey, I want to mix a bit of my journey with, some educational context. So identifying that I need to find a way to detach myself from, how I make money from time, I began to read every single book that I could get my hands on the topic of entrepreneurship, on the topic of, being able to invest. And that's what I did. I began studying so much about investing. When I graduated from pharmacy school, I went on, pursued an MBA. During that time, I was still learning everything I could about the financial industry. I was learning about investing. Because historically, if you take the United States of America, if you take any country in this world, there are two ways to really build wealth where it does not require your time. You can either start a business or you can invest. Okay? Once again, there are easy ways to build wealth. You can start a business or you can invest. I found that investing is the easiest way to build wealth. Why? It doesn't require your time. It doesn't require your energy. All it requires is money and the fact that you have to start early. When I realized this, I just felt like everyone that I know needs to understand how important investing is. Unfortunately, we're not taught this in school. Our parents are not exposed to this, especially if you're an immigrant. Why? Because we're just taught that if we go to school and we get a good job, we'll make money. And that's it. Typically, when you are making money, all you are told is make sure you save your money. And we're going to come back to the topic of saving to see if it is a smart financial strategy. So fast forward, after graduating from pharmacy school and then the MBA program, when I realized that there are a lot of graduates coming out into the workforce, they are making a lot of money. But then we have not been taught how to manage our money and more importantly, how to grow it. When I saw this, lack in the market, I directed my attention to try and discover if the financial institutions are teaching us what we need to know. So I started looking at the different banks, the different insurance companies, and friends, I was highly disappointed. I found out that the financial industry was taking advantage of highly paid professionals. They were selling them a lot of financial products they don't need. Why? Because they know that you don't understand what that product does. They know that, they can tell you that a product does this, and you're not going to know whether it does or whether it doesn't, right? Because we spent our time learning a specific set of topics in school. So when we get into the real world and we're having to pick a life insurance policy, how are you supposed to understand the different types that exist? Or if you want to invest, how are you supposed to know whether a mutual fund is better or an exchange traded fund is a preferable option? So then the financial industry was at an advantage. And I wanted to do something about this. So I started the Investing Tutor, specifically to simplify investing and make it relatively easy to understand. So let's move forward. This is our reality, or if I should say, this is the reality for most professionals. You get a salary. As soon as that salary hits your bank account, if you have a direct deposit, or as soon as that salary touches your hand, if you still receive checks, which I hope you don't, because direct deposit is quicker. As soon as that happens, taxes are taken off, right? You have to go down this majestic walkway. Taxes come off. Bills begin piling up that you have to pay. You have to take care of any loans and debt that you might have. And right at the very end, you see the person sticking out their head and their nose, the insurance agent coming for their money as well. So every single professional has to make this majestic walk down that path. What if I could show you how to receive your salary and then pay yourself first, even before you pay taxes, even before you pay your bills, and even before you pay any of your debt? What if there's a way to pay yourself before taxes? Now, I'm going to take a brief moment and kind of quiz you here, and I want you to get ready to write the answer in the chat bar, the chat box. Is there a way to pay yourself before you pay taxes after receiving your salary? Is there a way to pay yourself before you pay taxes? Yes. How do you do that? How do you pay yourself first before even the tax collector can take money off of your paycheck? Friends, tell me. 401k, absolutely. So if you're listening to this and you don't have a 401k or a 403b, you need to take advantage of that. It is the only financial vehicle that allows you to put money into your account before your paycheck is taxed. I've heard stories where some individuals are spreading rumors about how if you contribute to a 401k, you are giving your money away. It's a lie. That money is yours. And on top of that, your employer is going to add what's called a matching contribution to that money. So you absolutely want to take advantage of that. Okay. Moving on. Good debt and bad debt. When you think of debt, how many of you, oh, I saw a couple of more examples. Yes, and HSA is also a great way to be able to take advantage of a pre-tax income. Absolutely, absolutely. When it comes to debt, and go ahead and comment in the chat box. How many of you feel all debt is bad? I know my slide says good debt and bad debt, but how many of you feel all debt is kind of bad and that you just hate debt altogether? How many of you? While I'm waiting, it's interesting because when you listen to most, I would say 90 to 95% of financial experts, most of them are against debt. Most of them are. And we have, an individual here who says all debt is bad. And I'd love to hear why you feel all debt is bad. So take your time and explain to me how all debt is bad. While you're doing that, I'm going to move forward to explain the difference between good debt and bad debt. So friends, good debt is debt that when you take on, okay, it enables you, right, to be able to make money as a result of that debt. So as you make money, the money pays off the debt. And once the debt is paid off, you're able to still keep making money in perpetuity, meaning that you're able to keep making money forever. Okay? So good debt is debt that pays you back so that you pay off the debt and you keep making money in perpetuity. Bad debt is typically high interest debt that you use to buy things that become like, I don't even know what word to use. Like you buy things which lose its value over time. Okay? So good debt is used to buy assets, so things that put money into your pocket, and it helps you pay off the debt. And even after the debt is paid off, you keep making money in perpetuity. Whereas bad debt is used to buy things that decrease in value, so things that become worthless, and it's typically high interest debt. A borrower, okay, so he said all debt is bad because a borrower is a slave to the lender. That doesn't mean debt is bad. What does the Bible say right before that verse? I'm going to TM, go ahead and quote what the Bible says right before that verse, and then I'll teach you something valuable today. Going back, so good debt versus bad debt. Okay, so good debt pays off the debt and you keep making money in perpetuity. Bad debt is just high interest debt where you use it to buy things that becomes worthless over time. So let's take student debt. Is student debt good debt or bad debt? What do you guys think? Is student debt good debt or bad debt? Good debt. Okay, excellent, excellent. Someone says it depends. Great debt. Hey, I'm with you, Francesca. I believe student debt is amazing debt. Now, let me explain. Remember how I told you that good debt is debt that pays you back? Think about this. Let's just generalize. Let's say that, pharmacy debt costs 150,000. Sure, it can be more, right? You know what? Let me just take worst case scenario. Let's say pharmacy debt costs $200,000. So, it costs $200,000 to go to pharmacy school. Okay. So it costs me so I go and borrow 200,000, and that enables me, or it allows me to be able to earn 120K every single year in perpetuity, right? Okay, so I go borrow $200,000, and after I graduate, the first year I'm able to earn 120K. The second year I'm able to earn 120K. Remember the definition of good debt that I gave you? Good debt is debt that when you take on, it enables you to make money that helps you pay off the debt. And even after the debt is paid off, you keep making that money in perpetuity. You keep making that money forever. Would I borrow 200,000 to be able to make 120,000 a year? I would do that transaction every single day of my life. Every single day, without a doubt. Are you kidding me? I borrowed 200,000. And because of that, I'm able to earn $120,000 every year. That means within a year and a half, by mathematical law, I've broken even. And the remaining 30, 40 years of my life, I'm making 120K. If you think that is bad or that's bad debt, we need to take you and place you in a country where you cannot borrow money to go to school. And you'd realize at that point that student loans are incredible debt. No, okay, I get your point. Lionel, you're saying I'm forgetting about taxes. That is irrespective. It doesn't even matter. Even if we include taxes, the money is in perpetuity, right? So, okay, let's say we factor taxes in. How long is it going to take? 3.5 years, or it's going to take 4 years to break even? The point is still clear. Does that make sense? Let's move on. Student loan repayment options. And TM, you gave us a wonderful Bible verse about how a borrower is a slave to the lender. I'm waiting. We need to know what the verse says before that line. Okay. So open up your Bible, find that verse, and type out what it says before that line. Okay. And meanwhile, student loan repayment options. So, friends, when it comes to student loans, not only is it good debt, it is the best kind of debt to have. Let me explain why. Student loan debt, well, let me take a step back and let me make this fun. If you had to choose one type of debt, okay, student loan debt or having a mortgage, which one do you think is better? Go ahead and type out your answer. Student loan debt and a mortgage, which type of debt do you think is better? Student loan debt and mortgage debt. Which debt is better? Student loan. Wow, you guys are good. Student loan. Okay, student loan. If one more student loan, I'm gonna proceed because I think we're all on the same wavelength. Student loan. Oh, okay. Someone said mortgage. Okay, mortgage. Why do you think a mortgage is better than a student loan? Why do you think a mortgage is better than a student loan? I'm curious to know why. I'm going to guess the person is going to say that it's because, I get to live in a house. Or, okay, you wanted to say something different. That's great. So, most of the answers that I've gotten is that, Hans, at least I get a house, right? Like I get a house I can live in. Because to most individuals, a student loan, right? Okay, someone says, I can sell the house and make money from it. Okay, very good. You can use your home equity to pay off your student loans. Wow. You guys are beginning to think of really good ways or good reasons to that a mortgage is better than a student loan. Okay, good. Well, let me just go over this simple reality. Okay. Student loan, mortgage, which one is better? Absolutely is student loans. Let me explain why. First and foremost, with mortgages, there's only one repayment plan. Essentially, the repayment plan is that you have to pay the mortgage, otherwise we come for your house. Okay, that's the only repayment plan that's available. If you miss 3 consecutive monthly payments on your mortgage, your house will be taken back, foreclosed on, and you wouldn't even have a home to be able to draw the equity, the home equity line of credit that you are hoping you can use to pay down your student loan. It's not going to be there, right? With a student loan, however, you have so many repayment options. Most of you don't even know that a federal student loan, if you come into, let's say, financial hardship for whatever reason, you justify or you determine what is financial hardship. But once you do face that, you can actually pause your student loan payments for 3 years. No questions asked. The government doesn't even need documentation to do that. You can just pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, times are tough. Can I pause my student loan payments for a year? They'll tell you, sure, we'll go ahead and do that for you. Can you do that with a mortgage? Can you imagine calling up your your mortgage company and telling them you want to, take a 1 year break on your home payments? They will laugh at you and then come and take the house, right? So student loans are better type of debt because of the repayment options that they have. And here they are. You have the 10-year standard repayment. That's what everyone is placed in once you graduate. There's a 25-year extended repayment, right? There's a graduated repayment where you begin paying a lower amount, then over time it increases. There's an income-based repayment, and notice I have an asterisk next to that. That is, in my opinion, one of the best repayment plans available. You cap your payment to a fixed percentage of your income, and some of those programs even come with loan forgiveness. Okay, we're gonna dive into that. Private student loan refinancing. Friends, you are going to receive lots of mails to your home. You are going to receive lots of, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram ads. They are going to tell you how refinancing a student loan is good because you're going to save money on interest. Please be careful. The moment you refinance your student loan, it means that you've converted it from a federal loan into a private loan. Private loans do not qualify for any of the federal repayment programs. So you don't qualify for income-based repayment. You don't qualify for loan forgiveness. None of that. The moment you refinance a student loan, it's a private loan. It's no different from a mortgage at that point. Okay, so keep that in mind. What do you mean, Lionel, what do you mean by loan forgiveness? No one is sure about that. It's a 100% solid program. You might need to stop listening to the media on that because it's a very, 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 very good program. So what are the different types of income-based repayments? There's pay as you earn. There's revised pay as you earn. There's the income-based repayment. And also there's the public service loan forgiveness. Friends, these different income-based repayment options, as I said, they will cap your payments to a fixed percentage of your income. Let's take, for example, revised pay as you earn, repay. It caps your payment at 10% of your income. You pay that over, I believe, a 25-year period, and whatever is left will be forgiven. Now, you have to do the math to make sure it makes sense, because let's say you owe less than 100,000. Maybe paying, your student loan back over a 25-year period does not make a lot of sense. But let's say you owe 250K or 300,000, then repay or the income-based repayment or even pay as you earn might be an ideal option. If you work for a non-for-profit, meaning that if you work for a government agency, or you work for a hospital and that hospital is non-profit, you qualify for what's called the public service loan forgiveness. So with this program, you are going to pay 10% of your income up to 10 years, right? So let's say you earn $5,000 a month. Your student loans might cost anywhere between, I don't know, $300 to $500 a month. You pay that amount for 10 years. Let's say over that period of time, you've paid, let's say, $55,000. but your loan is 150, they will forgive the remaining 100K or the remaining 95,000. That's how public service loan forgiveness works. Thank you so much for giving me the quote, the rich rule over the poor. So TM had quoted that a borrower is a slave to the lender, but he forgot or she forgot to quote that the rich rule over the poor. Now, I want you to take a moment and then find out how the rich become rich. Okay? Go look at some of the wealthiest companies, look at some of the wealthiest individuals in this world, and then find out whether or not they use debt so that you don't misquote certain things. The US owes $23 trillion to other countries, to, even individuals here in the US, right? If all debt is bad, or if we could just misquote the Bible and try and use that as an excuse, right, we'll always be lagging behind. So it's very important. Why does the rich rule over the poor? And does the rich use debt, or don't they? You get it? So very, very, very important. So moving on, here are the old school beliefs. Save as much as you can. Investing is very risky. Debt is bad. Pay off all debt. You see, these are the old school beliefs that we are taught. So most people don't even do their research, right? They just hear debt is bad. A slave is a borrower is a slave to the lender. They just hear snippets and they don't take their time to educate themselves. They don't take their time to go out and learn what's going out there, right? The United States is one of the most powerful countries in the world, and it owes $23 trillion in debt. And it's the most powerful country in the world. Why is that? Because debt enables you to do things now that you might have had to wait several years to do, but then it enables you to bring in the capital now. The only thing is, debt is like a two-edged sword. If you are bringing in money as debt and you do not have a way to pay it back, it can turn around on you and then literally ruin your life. So guys, I'm not here to just, say, everyone go borrow money or whatever. Borrow money wisely. Take on good debt that you know is going to pay you back, so that you can pay off the debt and keep making money in perpetuity, right? Responsible debt. You see, when people say, like some of the old school beliefs, save as much as you can, how much are you making on a savings account? So as you make money and then you dump it into a savings account because your mom and dad told you to save, how much are you earning on your savings account? 0.05%. Every single month, you go into your account, you get a notification, $1 in interest has been paid to you, 25 cents has been paid into your account. And nothing is clicking your mind to tell you that maybe what you are doing is going to keep you poor, because you are not earning anything on the money that you're setting aside in a savings account. You see, sometimes doing the right thing the wrong way does not necessarily benefit you just because you think it's the right thing to do. So instead of saving as much as you can, maybe there's another way, and I'll go over that. Investing is very risky. Most people think investing is like gambling. Meanwhile, there is an investment out there, I know the investment, that has never lost money on average for 90 years. For the past 90 years, since 1924, this investment has never lost money on average. It's been returning about 10% every single year, year over year. So investing is not very risky. It is the lack of knowledge about investing that's very risky. We've already talked about debt, so I won't go into that. So what's the new strategy that we need to adopt? Save for an emergency. Most people don't even know what a savings account is for. A savings account is really an emergency fund, meaning the money that you set aside, right? So that if something unplanned occurs, you can access those funds to take care of or to handle that emergency, right? So save for an emergency. Don't just save as much as you can, right? Because an emergency fund has a limit, and that limit is dependent on you. You want to save so that you have 3 months of your expenses or 6 months of your expenses, or possibly 1 year's worth of expenses. It's completely up to you. So save for an emergency, pay down debt, okay? So these new strategies that I'm talking to you about, you have to do them simultaneously. You cannot do one, pause one, and then do another later. You have to do them all at the same time. That is the only way to achieve, or if I should say, win the financial game for our generation. You have to be able to do all of these simultaneously. Save for an emergency, pay down debt, and at the same time, invest for your future. Most people will graduate from school and they'll tell themselves debt is bad. So I'm going to take the next 5 years paying off all of my debt before I start investing for my future. Friend, that 5 years you waited to pay off the debt that you think is bad, right? The student loan debt. It cost you about $2 million. Most of you are like, wait, what is he talking about? It cost you $2 million to wait 5 years to begin investing for your future. 2 million. That is the cost of waiting to begin investing. On average, it costs an individual anywhere between $250,000 a year up to $400,000 every single year that they wait to start investing. So if you wait 5 years before you start investing, you might have lost 2 million. You might have lost 3 million. It's possible you lost even $4 million just for waiting to pay off $100,000 debt. And you're probably wondering, how does a person lose all of that money? It's called compound interest. The earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to grow. So when you are starting late, you've lost money. That's how it works. So friends, if there's one thing you are taking away from our talk today, besides the fact that debt is not bad, it is that there are 3 things everyone needs to be doing at the same time. They need to be saving for an emergency, they need to be paying down debt, and they need to be investing for the future. Okay? Finally, these are the financial must-haves. These financial must-haves are important for everyone. Everyone needs income. Everyone needs credit. You remember how growing up, some individuals would say, hey, I don't have a credit card because a credit card is bad. If you don't have a credit card, how is the financial industry going to know if they can trust you with credit? Without credit, you cannot buy a house because there's no record of how you perform if the financial industry gives you credit. And the US runs on credit. There's more credit than there even is cash in the system. Once again, going back to the person who said debt is bad. Go do your research. There's more credit than there is cash. Savings, very, very important. That is the account that enables you to be able to take care of emergency situations that arise. Investments for retirement, 401k, IRA, health savings account, your individual brokerage account. Invest for the future. Debt management strategy. It's not that you need to pay off debt as quickly as possible. No. You need to be smart. You need to have a strategy whereby, sure, you're taking care of debt, you're investing for your future, you're also saving in the event of an emergency, but you need a strategy. Because for our generation, where after paying off student debt, student loans, you have a mortgage to pay off. After paying off a mortgage, guess what? You still have to pay your cell phone bill till you pass away. You still have to pay Netflix. You still have to pay Amazon Prime. Everything is a subscription payment in our generation. I mean, you are going to be paying someone forever. You might as well just understand that, hey, that's how things work now, right? And begin to adopt new strategies for our future, for our generation. Insurance, absolutely important, right? An estate plan. Have you begun to plan how your assets will be managed when you leave this planet, so that the next generation can take good care of it? And finally, having a financial plan or a budget is absolutely super important. So friends, I know I've been answering some questions in the chat. I want to thank you all, for just listening, for learning something new. I'm open to taking, your questions right now, the ones that I haven't gone over. And like it says on the slide, if you want to connect with me, just go ahead after this chat, go on to LinkedIn, type in Hans Boateng. You can follow me on there. You can reach out to me if I can be of any help with, to you. And with that, I'd like to open the floor up for any questions that you all might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boateng. We do have a list of questions that have been submitted, and I'll start off with those, and then we'll take the ones in the chat. I think you sort of touched on this, but so I'll probably skip it, but it came from Helen, and she said, "How can I be rich without working too hard?" Can you give us a quick
Sylvie,
quick
thanks
response?
so much for the compliment. I appreciate it.
Can you hear me?
You want to talk about the 10% return, the investment that has never lost money on average for the past 90 years. It's called the S&P 500. The S&P 500. It is an investment fund that holds the top 500 companies in the US. S&P 500. Is there a list of questions that I can go over? Do you all have questions that you want me? Yes, I can. I don't have them in front of me right now. So do you mind just copying and pasting them in the chat so that I can go over and answer those questions? While we're waiting, please, if you have any questions, go ahead and submit them in the chat. I'm going to be looking at all of these questions. I'm in no rush. I'll be able to answer all of your questions. So the first question is, what is the right time to pay off a mortgage? And the answer to that is when it gets paid off, in all honesty. The right time to pay a mortgage is when it gets paid off. What is important to you? Is your focus only on paying off a mortgage? And if that is your focus, why did you get a mortgage in the first place? A mortgage is not the only important thing. There's providing for your family. There is, having family vacations. There is enjoying life. There is saving for your kids' college. There is investing for the future. This is why a debt payment strategy is important, so that you don't make only one thing a priority in your life. Okay? So the right time to pay off a mortgage, in my opinion, is when it gets paid off based on your debt payment strategy. Okay. What is my take on whole life insurance? Whole life insurance. It's even interesting that you're asking what's my take on whole life insurance. It's it's super expensive. In my opinion, it's definitely useless, because a term life insurance policy can do exactly what a whole life policy can do, but then I don't have to pay 10 times the cost for the whole life policy. So my perspective or my take on whole life insurance is that it is useless, and a term life policy is better. Let me see the next question. Give me a second. You are finding ways to scroll through the questions. Give me a moment. So, what is the right time to buy a house? What is the right time to buy a house? I'll say the right time to buy a house, and you might think my answers are very simple, but in reality, we need to realize that things are simple. Sometimes we complicate things and we don't even need to complicate them. The right time to buy a house is if you can afford living in a house, right? Do you have the 5, 10, 20% down payment that is required? And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you need 20% down payment or you need 10% down payment to be able to afford a house, but that's part of the process, right? So do you have the down deposit? Can you afford, having a home? Do you want to take on the expenses, the unplanned expenses of owning a home, because it is expensive? Or do you want to rent so that all of that is not your burden? Friends, we were once told the American dream is to own a home. To me, the American dream is freedom. Freedom to live life on your terms. So don't feel like buying a house is the golden thing that everyone needs to do. With that being said, my wife and I, we own a home. If I had it my way, we shouldn't, but she wanted a home. I don't mind if it makes her happy. But just know that renting is not bad. Okay, renting is not bad. Is it okay to borrow money to start a business? Is it okay to borrow money to start a business is the question. So I feel like for our generation, there shouldn't be a need for a person to borrow money to start a business. And the reason I say that is because you can start an online business with very low capital, like very, very low. And you can even sell your products before you even launch. When I started the Investing Tutor, pre-launch, I was profitable. I had sold my services to 20 people before I even launched my business. Why or how did I do that? It's just a pre-launch. Hey guys, I am launching this business. For all pre-orders, I'll give you a 50% discount, and you launch. So friends, now obviously I'm making it simple. If you want to go start a pharmacy, you need a lot of capital, right? So the way that I'm trying to put this is find a way to start a business that doesn't take up a lot of capital so that you don't have to borrow to be able to start a business. But hey, if you feel like you want to go borrow to start a business, you have to ask your question. Are you sure that the business is going to be able to make you back enough money to pay off the debt and keep making money in perpetuity? Because then it would be considered good debt. But if you go borrow money and it's not able to pay back the debt, then it's bad debt. Okay, guys? Is it advisable to pay off all your credit cards and have little savings, or have more of a savings and pay off your credit cards? Sengi, to answer your questions, it goes back to the three things that I said is super important for our generation. You save, pay down debt, invest for the future. You are not prioritizing one over the other. So I don't even understand. Are you paying off your debt and having little savings? You're not going to bother about that because you'll be paying off debt while saving and investing for the future. I keep looking at cannabis stocks and the market looks very promising. Are there any setbacks in buying these as a pharmacist? What's my take on cannabis stocks for the future? So it's interesting. The cannabis market is very, very popular. It's hot right now. There are so many opportunities that exist. In all honesty, in the beginning, anytime I would hear, cannabis this, cannabis that, I'll just look the other way because I wasn't really intrigued by it, right? But then, in all honesty, this industry has captured the attention of Wall Street. And many of them are very optimistic about the industry to the point where it's caused me, someone who was not even paying attention to it, to say to myself, I am going to look at this industry in its entirety to see the opportunities that exist. So with that being said, I'm going to be doing a rigorous research over the next couple of months, and I'll be putting out an investment report on the cannabis industry. Most of the current Investing Tutor members, who are subscribed to my reports will be receiving this report. So I cannot talk much about the current state of the industry because I'm yet to do my own research. Okay. So next question, give me a second here, trying to. I'm a business owner and do not offer a 401k. How do I pay myself before taxes? Okay, you're a business owner, you don't offer a 401k or you don't have a 401k. How do you pay yourself? Very simple. Sylvie, you just need to look into something called an IRA. An IRA, okay? An IRA will enable you to be able to put money aside prior to taxes. And for you as a business owner, you might qualify for a business IRA that will enable you to put anywhere between $25,000 up to about $50,000 aside before taxes. What about using whole life insurance as an investment tool? Whole life insurance is not an investment. Friends, it's one of my main things that I teach. If you follow me anywhere online, whole life is not an investment. Insurance is not an investment by definition. What is an insurance meant to do? It's to protect you it's to protect your family in the event that you pass away or something devastating happens. It is not an investment. If someone told you whole life is an investment so that they could sell you whole life insurance and then make a commission check and you fail to do your due diligence, then that's up to you. But whole life is not an investment. Even if they tell you it has an investment vehicle, that investment vehicle is pretty much a savings account. So the money that you have going towards whole life insurance that you think is an investment is not. It's a savings account. And that savings account in the future, if you want to go and withdraw money from it, they tell you you can only borrow your own money. How does that make sense? You've given your money to someone and they tell you the only way you can access it is by borrowing it and then paying it back to them. So whose money is it? Is it yours or it's theirs? Think about that as you tell me whole life is an investment. Is franchising a good business slash investment venture? What type of companies are the best to partner with via franchising? It depends on what you're interested in, right? Are you looking to, go into food franchising where you're looking to start like a Moe's or a Chick-fil-A, or are you looking to, go into an independent pharmacy franchise? It just depends on you. There's no secret formula for anything. You just need to do the research, right? And identify other individuals' experiences and then learn from them, right? So there are so many opportunities when it comes to franchising. You just have to do your due diligence. Go out there, experience these businesses, see for yourself, have conversations with these different companies that offer a franchising model and see for yourself. After pharmacies got into stocks, did well, paid off my house, I now have cash available as a result, still investing in the market, but need more options to invest and be wealthy, not rich. Sam, I don't know if I understood your question, so you can re-ask it again, or if you have a question, if you can ask. What's the best way to start investing in the stock market? The best way to start investing in the stock market is by actually starting. And I know that sounds so simple. You're probably wondering, wait, what does he mean by that? And the best way to start is by starting, right? And typically, I say before you start, you want to educate yourself, right? You want to understand how to invest, right? If you take an investment, how do you know if it's a good investment or not a good investment? The only way to be able to know this is by educating yourself so that you're able to pick up an investment, look at its properties. Okay, I like this, I like that about this investment. Oh, I see that it's a profitable company. Okay, it's not too risky because the characteristics that I'm looking at show me that it's not risky. Wow, look at the growth opportunity available with this investment. The way to be able to see an investment and know if it's a good investment or not requires a certain minor level of education. We are not taught this in school. That's one of the things that bothers me. You see, most individuals feel like because they have money, they are investors. No, that's wrong. Just because you see, you see planes in the airport doesn't mean you are a pilot. And before you learned how to drive, just because your parents had a car in the house doesn't make you a driver. You had to learn how to drive before you could, sit in a car, take it out, and not put yourself at risk. So similarly, when it comes to investing, before you go out there and begin dumping money into investments, educate yourself. Whether that is by, reading books, like I told you, I read over 300 books, or you can shortcut your education by getting a tutor. And that's something that I'm able to help with regards to working with professionals one-on-one and teaching them exactly what they need to know about investments. Very simple. It takes about an hour and a half or so, and an individual is able to learn all that they need to know about investing. Friends, do you have any final questions for me? I feel I've had a great time interacting with you all. It's been very, very exciting. I hope this session was beneficial. I'm leaving floor open for any last questions that you might have. Oh, I noticed that I skipped over a few questions. Let me go over them. Which one would you recommend, an MBA or a PMP? It just depends on you and what your aspirations are. It's not like one is better than the other. Do you want to be a project manager, or do you want to get an MBA so you can rise up in a company up to the level of CEO? It depends. What do you want, right? Are there any resources to educate on the stock market? There are tons of books, right? You can go to Barnes and Nobles and begin reading through books. What I've found, and what most of the current members of the investing tutor have told me, is that, Hans, I can't believe that in 1 hour you were able to teach me something that would have taken me 5 years to learn. And that's the thing. If someone else has taken so much time to learn something, maybe you might want to shortcut your education, right? And not go pouring through books. Or if you do have the time, sure, there are tons of books, in Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. You'd be able to, go, if you go to Amazon, you just even type stocks and just rank them in order of, popularity. You'll be able to buy tons of them. The challenge is that most of them will not walk you step by step and teach you exactly how to open a brokerage account, how to begin investing, the ways to invest. That makes it very simple, right?
Hi, Dr. Boateng, can you hear me?
So, okay, I see that you all are very, very happy with this session. I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share with you all. I feel this was absolutely incredible. The topic of money is not something that we are taught. It's not something that we're exposed to. And as immigrants, I want to share something with you before you leave. You see, when let's take me for example. When my parents came to the US, their focus was not on understanding how the US financial system works. Their focus was not on how to build wealth. Their focus was on how can we provide for our family, because they are new to this country. They didn't have the convenience of figuring out how to invest. But that is what enables us to be able to take advantage of the opportunity that we have, because our parents took the lead and now they've given us a certain level with regards to a safety net so that we can build wealth. We can take the opportunity to learn about the US financial system. We can make a difference in our household. And that difference starts with acquiring the right knowledge. And after acquiring the knowledge, being able to actually put it into practice, to invest, and invest. So friends, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. It would be a pleasure to continue the dialogue. But thank you so much. It was absolutely incredible. Have a great evening. And it was fun.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boateng. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. Rendezvous next month. Our very own Dr. Balimba will be giving us an overview of diabetes and microvascular complications. So mark your calendars. We'll be sending out the information for that as soon as possible. Thanks again for your time. And with that, I will be signing off and ending the meeting. Good night, everyone.